Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for Financial Education, Charting a Course to Financial Wellness. Today's webinar is sponsored by Acorda Therapeutics. My name is Elizabeth Jennings, and I'm so thrilled to have you with us today. I'm going to hand off to my colleague, Nakia Matthews, so she can provide you a few housekeeping tips.
Good afternoon, everyone. The audio for today's webinar is being broadcast through your computer. Please make sure your speakers are turned on and up or your headphones are plugged in. You can control the audio broadcast via the audio broadcast panel, which you can see on the slide below. And if you accidentally close this panel, you can reopen it by going to the top menu, Communicate, Join Audio Broadcast. You can also close and reopen this menu if the sound becomes unintelligible at any point. If you do not have sound capabilities on your computer, or if you prefer to listen by your phone, you can dial the toll-free number you see here, and you can use the meeting code. You do not need to enter an attendee ID. Real-time captioning is provided during this webinar, and the captions can be found in the Media Viewer panel, which appears in the lower right corner of the webinar platform. If you'd like to make the Media Viewer panel larger, you can minimize some of the other panels like Chat, Q&A, and Participants. And conversely, if you do not need the captions, you can minimize the Media Viewer panel. Please use the chat box or the Q&A box to send any questions you may have during the webinar. You can send them to me, Nakia Matthews, or Katie Metz, and we will direct the questions accordingly during the Q&A portion. If you are listening by phone and not logged into the webinar platform, you may also ask questions by email. You can send your question to Katie at kmetz, M-E-T-Z, at ndi-inc.org. Please note this webinar is being recorded, and the materials will be placed on the NDI website at the URL below, which is www.realeconomicimpact.org/financial-wellness. If you experience any technical difficulties during the webinar, please use the chat box to send a message to me, Nakia Matthews, or you may also email me at nmatthews@ndi-inc.org.
Thank you so much, Nakia. So as I mentioned, my name is Elizabeth.
Something on the phone. With the webinar.
It
Toll
seems
free.
that we have, Nakia, somebody not muted. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us today. As I mentioned, my name is Elizabeth Jennings. I'm the Director of Training and Technical Assistance for National Disability Institute. Also on the line today with us is my esteemed colleague, Katie Metz with National Disability Institute. Today we're going to be giving you some information about financial wellness and individuals with MS. We're going to talk about what that term financial wellness means. And then we're going to be provided information about Money Smart by John Olson with FDIC. We'll then hear from Jeanette Schultz with NEFI on financial wellness and living with MS. We're going to try to provide a lot of time to answer any questions that you may have, those of you that are send in your questions through the chat box. If for some reason we don't get to your questions, or if you have questions that you think would be better handled offline, we're going to provide you with some contact information, and we encourage you to contact us as you need to. I want to take a moment to give a special thank you to our sponsor, Acorda Therapeutics. This is the third year that Acorda Therapeutics has sponsored the Financial Wellness webinar series, and we've heard from many individuals living with MS across the country how much they've benefited from this information. So thank you to our sponsor. For those of you that are new to National Disability Institute, we are a national research and development organization with the mission to promote income preservation and asset development for persons with disabilities and to build a better economic future for Americans with disabilities. We are one of the few national organizations that believe strongly in the link between disability and asset development and the right for all individuals, regardless of what benefits they may need to hold on to have access to information that will help them build their financial capability and improve their financial wellness. So let's talk about what is financial wellness. We define financial wellness as the state of a person's finances with the intent of working towards financial behaviors that limit stress and the impact of stress on one's daily life. Financial wellness can encompass many different things. One is being financial literate, which we're going to talk about today. We're going to give you some tools that can help you to improve your financial literacy. Another aspect is accessing affordable financial services, utilizing favorable tax provisions, budgeting, understanding public benefit rules, building and maintaining assets, accessing available health care subsidies, and understanding work and long-term disability options. We're going to cover many of these topics over the Financial Wellness webinar series, and if you haven't had a chance to look at the entire series, I encourage you to visit our URL, www.realeconomicimpact.com/financial wellness. And Nakia, maybe you could put that in the chat box because I may have not done that perfectly. So why do we want to talk about this? Well, we know that for individuals with disabilities, they're living in higher rates of poverty than their non-disabled counterparts. So in 2010, about 12.8% of individuals with disabilities, of individuals without disabilities had income below the poverty level. And for individuals with disabilities, the number was more than twice that rate, 27.3%. Even though there's been a lot of economic stimulus, we know that no group in America is more in need and more deserving of economic recovery. We identify that many individuals who have a disability or incur a disability become trapped in a world of benefits that really encourages one not to work and not to save. And we look to provide you with strategies that can help you increase employment, increase financial capability, increase savings, all while maintaining one or more of the public benefits that you may need. For millions of working-age adults with disabilities, that need to hold on to at least one benefit really becomes a dependence and a trap, as I mentioned, requiring you to stay poor to stay eligible. As many of you on the line may know, the month of July is the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And although we talk about a lot of aspects of the Act in our everyday lives, especially around access, one of the pieces of the Act often gets overlooked, and that's provided for you here. The nation's proper goals regarding individuals with disabilities are to assure equality of opportunity, full participation, independent living, and economic self-sufficiency for such individuals. The continuing existence of unfair and unnecessary discrimination and prejudice denies people with disabilities the opportunity to compete on an equal basis and to pursue those opportunities for which our free society is justifiably famous, and cost the United States billions of dollars in unnecessary expenses resulting from dependency and non-productivity. So this month, as you see celebrations of the ADA in action, I hope you will remember this piece of the ADA, that one of the proper goals outlined in the ADA is that individuals are assured equality of opportunity and economic self-sufficiency. To us, that is the key point for this conversation of why individuals with a multitude of disabilities and chronic health conditions, including individuals living with MS, should have access to quality information that can help you to build your financial wellness and be as economically self-sufficient as is possible. There are some other reasons why financial wellness is important. One of the reasons is that it impacts your mental and physical health, and many of you on the line know the impact that stress can have on your physical health and how stressful managing one's finances can be, especially when they become more limited. It also positively impacts your self-concept. It changes your status with other community stakeholders, and in many situations can be provide that extra access to make sure that you can participate in the community. And really, it directly impacts your quality of life. Before we started this financial wellness webinar series several years ago, we and our partners at the Multiple Sclerosis Association of America did a survey to find out what was the financial situation of individuals living with MS across the U.S. and what were some of their needs in relation to better understanding their financial wellness and the financial stability strategies that are available across the country. And we learned some interesting things. We learned that 55.1% of households earn less than $35,000 annually. 16.4% earn less than $50,000 annually, but more than 35%. So we had over 70% of households earning less than $50,000. When asked about their ability to pay all of their bills in a typical month, 32% of respondents said they had a very difficult time paying their bills, and almost 50% reported they had a somewhat difficult time. We also learned that 43% said that their financial status affected their ability to access medical care at some point in time. And remember, these are all individuals living with MS that responded to this survey. We also learned that almost 72% do not have enough savings to cover 3 months' expenses. Almost 70% reported that their finances were worse since their MS diagnosis, and 73.7% reported that they were not aware of or have not used financial stability programs such as the Earned Income Tax Credit, individual development accounts, family self-sufficiency programs, and plans to achieve self-support. And if you have a chance to tune in with us over the course of this financial wellness webinar series, we are going to touch on each of these financial stability programs to give you information about them and where you can access them in your local communities. There are a lot of financial wellness strategies that exist, and we're going to talk about many of them over the next few months. But we want to give you kind of a snapshot here of what some of them entail. Today we're going to talk a little bit about financial literacy, budgeting, credit repair, getting banked. In subsequent webinars, we're going to touch on many of these other strategies, the use of Social Security work incentives, the use of tax incentives, opportunities to do your taxes through volunteer income tax assistance, favorable tax provisions such as the Earned Income Tax Credit, a really important public benefit that many folks don't know about, which is state Medicaid buy-in programs. And then we have a pool of programs that help you, sometimes based on your status as someone with a disability and sometimes regardless of whether or not you have a disability. There are family self-sufficiency programs, individual development accounts, assistive technology loan funds, student loans and retirement accounts. We have some of the assets that we hope you'll look to build, which are post-secondary education, employment, self-employment, microenterprise, and home ownership. And then the bottom is a pool of organizations and programs that can help you along the way. Protection and advocacy, taxpayer advocates, credit counseling services, volunteer income tax assistance programs, which are sometimes called cash coalitions, or they're sometimes called prosperity campaigns. They can have a lot of different names in communities. And work incentive planning and assistance programs, which for those of you on the line that do receive public benefits are a great resource for you to understand how earning money and saving money will impact those benefits. But to us here at National Disability Institute, one of the best first steps you can take in your financial wellness is to have a strong foundation of financial education. One of the reasons is that financial education is a great first step that has zero negative impact. So wherever you are in your financial wellness, financial education is going to be a benefit to you. It's going to empower you to take charge of your financial life and improve your financial wellness. If you are someone on public benefits, it will have no impact on any of those public benefits just by becoming more financially literate. And it's something that all of us as Americans need. 42% of Americans gave themselves a grade of a C, D, or F on personal finance, and that was a 2012 Consumer Financial Literacy Survey done from the National Foundation for Credit Counseling and the Network Branded Prepaid Card Association. So if you're sitting on the line with us today and you're thinking, I really need this because I want to improve my financial education, you're not alone. A lot of us here in America need this kind of information. And all of the programs that we're going to provide for you today are available to anybody, whether they have a disability or not. So I'd now like to introduce John Olson. He is with FDIC, and he is a community affairs specialist. And we're really so grateful to have John on the line with us today to talk about FDIC's Money Smart program. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Can everybody hear me okay?
You sound good.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Elizabeth, you touched on some excellent thoughts about financial wellness, and I believe a lot of these things can be very useful in helping the disability community as well as others in the community. And I want to talk a little bit today about the FDIC's Money Smart curriculum. I believe many people are already familiar with it, but I think it will be helpful to give just a brief overview of it. Again, my name is John Olson. I'm a community affairs specialist with the FDIC, and you see my email address and also my telephone number. So, if you have any questions that you think of after today's presentation, please feel free to give me a call or drop me an email. Okay, Money Smart is a program that has been developed by the FDIC, so it is a product of the FDIC. The latest information that we have, the Money Smart curriculum originally rolled out in 2001. You can see 2.75 million consumers have been reached through Money Smart since 2001. There's been some studies done that shows the curriculum can positively influence consumers in managing their finances. We send out financial institution letters, or FILs. So you can see there's an FIL dated June of 2007 that talks about the one of the measuring tools that was used in connection with the Gallup poll to conduct a survey on the Money Smart curriculum. Also, Money Smart has won numerous awards for the program itself, especially the Service to America Medal that was received in 2003, I believe that was. This is just a snapshot slide of what the CDs look like. They're free CDs. You've got the instructor-led curriculum, and you also have the computer-based instruction CD, but there is an updated computer-based instruction that can be accessed online. It just rolled out last year, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. As many of you probably know, the instructor-led curriculums are very structured, identically in format. They include a comprehensive guide for the instructor. It's very scripted, so you don't have to have a good understanding of finance to be able to teach the program, because it is so very well scripted. There's also a take-home booklet for the participants in the class. You may not be doing classroom activities, but it can also be very helpful with one-on-one counseling as well. Also, there are visual aid slides in PowerPoint and PDF, which make it very attractive to help the individuals actually see what the instructor is talking about. It also provides good guidance for the instructor to be able to touch base on things that they would want to bring out as very important. Each of the modules has a pre and post training quiz, so you can sort of get a handle on what your participants know before undergoing the training, and then you can administer the post-training quiz to find out if they have been able to improve some of their understanding about the Money Smart curriculum. Each of the modules roughly runs between 1 to 2 hours, maybe 60 minutes to 90 minutes sometimes. But it just depends on the size of the group and how much discussion goes on for each topic that's talked about. You can see the instructor-led curriculum is available in 9 languages, and that is only the adult version of Money Smart. The Money Smart for Young Adult version is also only available in English. There's also a version for the visually impaired that you can see on the FDIC.gov website. Also in the guide to presenting the Money Smart curriculum, which you can access via the CDs on each of the instructor-led CDs. There's a link at the very top on the right-hand side, I believe, where you can click on and get access to the guide to presenting the materials. And also included in that guide to presenting is a section on training tips and strategies for teaching participants with disabilities. So I believe Money Smart was one of the first instructional financial education programs to include a guide on relating to participants with disabilities, some of the rules of etiquette associated with teaching individuals with disabilities, and also there is a list of what we call 10 commandments, or 10 primary rules to follow that when there are individuals with disabilities in the training, that they may be a good idea to follow those 10 suggestions. Touching quickly on the Money Smart modules, back on it is a very basic module, but it also teaches the underlying concepts about the importance of having a bank account. We see a lot of prepaid card products out there these days, and if individuals can be convinced to open a bank account or a credit union account, it can be very cost effective. But again, there are those out there that open bank accounts or credit union accounts, and they don't understand the rules or guidelines behind dealing with a bank or credit union. So it is very important to understand all the guidelines that go along with different accounts, because you know, we certainly don't want individuals to get into overdraft situations or get into accounts where they are assessed a lot of fees. Sometimes I liken the Bank on It module to, say, playing a game of Monopoly or basketball or some type of sport where you have to know the rules, otherwise you'll get penalized and hurt your team, and you can hurt yourself. So again, it's very, very important to understand what the rules of the particular bank or credit union are that you choose to deal with. And also keep in mind that there are all different types of products available at different banks and financial institutions such as credit unions. So it is a good idea to shop around and be able to find the best deal. Module 2, Borrowing Basics. It generally touches on the definition of credit, learning how to distinguish between terms of unsecured and secured loans, different types of loans, identifying the cost associated with loans, factors that lenders use to make loan decisions. It can explain why installment loans may be far more cost-effective than using a rent-to-own service. Also, it can explain to individuals about the pitfalls of using payday loans and also refund anticipation loans. And there is some good information in there to explain to individuals about how to identify predatory lending products. Module 3, the Check It Out module, is very useful because it can explain to an individual about the various types of checking accounts that might be available through a financial institution. And it's very important because not all checking accounts are alike. So all banks are required to disclose the terms of their checking accounts that are offered, and it can also be very beneficial in having an account with the credit union or bank due to the direct deposit feature that is offered by financial institutions. And this can definitely help individuals, especially individuals that might be eligible for Social Security benefits or other type federal payment programs, because if you recall back in March of this year, I believe it was, that all federal payments went to a prepaid card format, and there are expenses associated with the prepaid card that can be avoided by having direct deposit and an account relationship with a bank or credit union. The Money Matters module, Module 4, is a very good module on helping individuals to develop a personal spending plan, or sometimes called a budget. A lot of people don't like the term budget, but personal spending plan seems to be a lot more favorable term. There are a lot of tools in the Money Smart Module 4 to help individuals understand how to set financial goals, track daily spending, prepare spending plans, figure out ways to decrease spending, and identify ways to increase income. And also you can find tools in the module to help individuals learn how to set up different ways to be able to manage their bills and other payments that they have to make on an ongoing basis. Module 5 is Pay Yourself First. It's very important to instill the concept of savings in individuals. Elizabeth mentioned earlier that it is a benchmark figure to have at least 3 months of savings in an account to serve as an emergency fund for individuals. Some sources have said these days it may be a good idea to extend that time to 6 months. So generally between 3 and 6 months would be a good way to establish how much money you would earn in that period, and then be able to save up that amount for unexpected emergencies such as loss of a job or illness and things like that. Module 6 is a great module called Keep It Safe. In this module you can understand how federal deposit insurance protects deposits. Individuals can learn how to protect themselves against identity theft, what to do if they become a victim of identity theft. Also, it talks about preventing elder financial abuse, different types of insurance, personal insurance that individuals may need during the course of their lives. Also, it explains about plans for unexpected events related to death or disability, and also it can describe ways to be financially prepared for disasters. Okay, and the next slide, Module 7, talks about credit reports. It's a very good module that helps individuals to understand credit, why it's important, understanding a credit report, how it's used, being able to order a free copy of the credit report. There are 3 nationally known credit reporting agencies. And if you go to annualcreditreport.com, you can obtain those 3 credit reports, and some may choose to order them all at the same time. However, they can be staggered. You are eligible to receive 1 credit report in a 12-month period. So if you choose to stagger those reports, you can order one, say, in January, then maybe May, and then maybe October. So that's just a suggestion, but some individuals choose to do it that way. Also, it explains the implications of good and bad credit. For instance, someone that's got good credit can save substantial money in lending, making loans from different companies, because if you have a good credit rating, you can definitely get a lot better interest rate on loans that you make. So it is very important to have a good credit history and a good credit score. Now, keep in mind, most sites on the internet require a fee for obtaining a credit score, but I believe I have seen some situations where a credit score may be free, but I do not believe the law requires a free credit score at this point, only a credit report. The module can also suggest ways on how to build and repair credit history. It's important to check your credit history because a lot of times it can reveal identity theft, and also it can reveal errors on there, because I've checked my credit report in the past and have actually found errors on my credit report, and those can be disputed and they can be removed. But if anything is factual information on the credit report, it cannot be removed immediately. It just takes some time for it to drop off. We talked about how obtaining a credit report can also create awareness about identity theft as well. Going on to Module 8, Charge It Right. It's a great module to learn about credit cards. Again, learn why credit is important. Understand the factors that lenders are looking for when making credit decisions from individuals. Describing some of the best uses for a credit card. Understanding if an individual is ready to apply for credit. I have 2 young sons who are in the process of starting credit histories. In some cases, my oldest son has been able to get a credit card pretty easily through like a particular retail outlet like Best Buy or maybe a department store, but he has had some situations where he's applied for a MasterCard or Visa where he is declined because he doesn't have, they report he doesn't have a long-term credit history, or they report he's not making enough income to obtain a credit card. Also, that module can help you determine the credit card that's best suited for you. There are a lot of different credit cards out there, and it's up to the consumer to decide which is the best deal. There are a lot of cards out there with grace periods, so actually someone may not get charged interest on their credit card if they pay the amount off in full. So it is very important to look for a grace period on a credit card. Also, it's good to try to avoid any type of credit card that charges an annual fee. There are too many free cards out there to have to pay a fee for a credit card. Also, the module talks about what to do if a credit card is lost or stolen, and there's some great tips in there. A lot of individuals are very afraid of credit cards, but they can be a very big help in helping individuals to develop a credit history and a good credit score if they are managed properly. Looking at Module 9, Loan to Own, it basically talks about the different types of installment loans, why installment loans can cost less than rent-to-own services, looking at different types of loans in order to purchase a car, such as, do I want to purchase the car outright, or do I want to lease the vehicle? There's some good information in there about the pros and cons of purchasing versus leasing a vehicle. It also talks about being wary of rent-to-own and payday loans, refund anticipation loan services, and also the federal laws that protect individuals when they apply for a loan from a federally regulated institution, such as a bank or a credit union. Module 10 talks about pre-home ownership, or the benefits of home ownership, and also the benefits of renting. So it can help an individual compare about whether or not they're ready to buy a home versus renting a home. There are a lot of pros and cons of renting versus owning a home. It will help individuals to understand what questions to ask and determine their readiness to buy a home. It identifies the steps required to buy a home, and identifies the basic terms and required disclosures in a home purchase. From a personal experience, I've attempted to use a mortgage broker in the past because they had a more favorable interest rate than a financial institution that I was looking at, but I was very sorry that I ended up going with the mortgage broker because the HUD-1 form, or the list of settlement costs, was changed greatly when I went to the closing, and fortunately I realized that I had the ability to get up and leave and just walk away from that loan, and then I was able to go back to a financial institution and conduct an application for the home loan, and it was a lot more pleasant experience than going through a mortgage broker. Module 11 talks about financial recovery. Helps an individual to assess their current financial situation, developing a financial recovery plan, how to implement a financial recovery plan. Again, it talks about the importance of checking your credit report, how to guard against credit repair scams. I'm sure a lot of individuals have seen little roadside signs about instant credit fix, and we want to help educate individuals to understand that these are nothing but scams, and again, no one can legally have accurate information removed from a credit report. Okay. The next slide here, we also have a Money Smart for Young Adults curriculum, which is a byproduct of the original Money Smart for for adults, but is targeted to young adults and teens, ages 12 to 20. It can go from grade 7 to up to the first and second years of college. These are the 8 modules in the Young Adult series, so you can see it's not as involved as the Money Smart for adults, but it has situations in there that young people may face every day. We also have a Money Smart podcast network. You can access that online. It's set up like a talk show with questions about general financial education topics. It is very useful. It's somewhat similar to maybe a radio talk show that you would hear with a Susie Orman or something along those lines. But again, it can be ordered on a CD as well as on the internet. Last year, we just released the Money Smart for Small Business in connection with the SBA, the United States Small Business Administration. These are some of the modules and topics that are talked about in the Money Smart for Small Business. It can be very helpful in helping a new entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur learn more about basics related to running a business. So again, that can be a very useful product as well. These are some of the unique features of Money Smart. You can see a lot of good benefits there. There are no copyrights on the Money Smart material, so if you choose to just cut some items out of the material and incorporate them into your own personal financial education plan, there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to worry about any copyright restrictions. And there are a number of free programs out there, and including the FDIC program, which is free. But there are also a lot of programs out there that can be very expensive too. So I would suggest trying to use a free program before spending money on a tuition for an alternate financial program. Money Smart updates recently. Last year there was an updated computer-based instruction for adults, and there is also a computer-based instruction online only for young adults now. Very useful type format. The online computer-based instructions has built-in scored activities. So if individuals score, I believe it's 80% or higher on the scored activities, they have the ability to print out a successful completion certificate. So the online computer-based instruction can be very beneficial for individuals. We now have a CD that has all 9 languages on an instructor-led format. Again, that's a free CD as well. Talked about Money Smart for Small Businesses already. Again, there are some very basic concepts in the curriculum that will help a business owner to understand those basic concepts. There's also a Money Smart for elementary school students that's available only in a downloadable guide. And the best way to get to that, there's a long URL that you can use to get to that, but I find the best way maybe to go to FDIC.gov, just type in Money Smart in the search engine, and it will take you right to the Money Smart page where you can click on a hot link on the left-hand side of the page to order Money Smart, and also to access the other items that are available through Money Smart, such as the computer-based instruction. That's also available in English and Spanish. We just released during June Money Smart for older adults, ages 62 and up. So there's some very good information in that curriculum as well. I haven't had the opportunity to really closely look at that curriculum, but it can be very useful for helping older adults understand and become aware of potential scams that may be out there designed to take advantage of senior citizens or older adults, and again, there's some very good information in there to help protect our seniors. There's the website that you can log on to. There also is the ability to sign up for electronic newsletters, especially Money Smart News comes out on a quarterly basis. It keeps the public aware of different ongoing situations that are happening with Money Smart, such as new products that come out and different things like that. Talked about the downloadable products already. Again, the Money Smart for elementary school students is a very good tool for ages approximately 5 to 8. There's some good activities in there to help young people learn about basic financial type related issues such as needs versus wants, the importance of savings, and a couple of other things as well. Again, I talked about the Money Smart for older adults. It's an instructor-led training that was developed jointly by FDIC and the CFPB, or Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and it just rolled out. And it appears to me from the way I've looked at it to date that it's just an extension of the Money Smart for adults, because I noticed that it was labeled as Module 12 in there, but it is a fairly lengthy document. And the good thing about it is you don't have to go through the modules one by one. You can just pick and choose based on what your target audience is. So that's another good thing about the Money Smart program too. And again, the Money Smart for older adults can really help with awareness and prevention of financial exploitation. Okay, before I conclude, just want to talk a little bit about financial wellness and different things that individuals can do to improve their financial health. We've talked a little bit about having an emergency fund, so that's very critical. If an individual has a lot of credit card debt, it may be a good idea to try to pay off those credit cards as soon as possible. You may want to start with paying off a small amount credit card. That can be a personal achievement of satisfaction. You may also want to take a look at an individual, if they have a credit card with a high interest rate, they may want to pay that off as well as quickly as possible. And something to consider at this point would be, should a person use their savings to pay off a credit card? And most probably the answer is yes, because regular savings accounts are not paying very much interest now, whereas you can have a credit card that is maybe has a balance on it, and the individual's being charged maybe 18 to 20% interest. So it just bears looking into which would serve the interest best of the individual. Also, it's very important to understand the savings concept and preparing for retirement. The general rule of thumb is to try to put 10% of your income in an account that goes toward retirement. One of the key issues also is considering paying your mortgage off before one retires, because that can be a very good benefit. Again, that would require a plan to determine how much longer one wants to work, how long do they want to have their mortgage. But in the long run, it's always good to try to pay off your mortgage as fast as possible. And there are a lot of situations or recommendations out there that individuals try to double up on mortgage payments or pay a little extra principal every month. That can certainly help individuals to save money by reducing the principal as quickly as possible. We talked about tracking your spending. A lot of times when individuals start keeping a record of what they spend, they'll go back and look and group the amounts into categories and just cannot believe some of the things that they've spent money on. So putting things in writing can really help to improve someone's financial health in developing a spending plan or a budget. Again, it's very important to envision your future, to develop a mental picture of where one hopes to be, say, 5 years down the road. So that can always be very helpful in determining financial health and wellness. We talked about credit reports. Improving your credit score is very, very important, or maintaining a good credit score is very important, because if an individual does borrow money, when they have a good credit score, they will get a lot better interest rate by having a good credit score and a good credit history. Again, there can be a significant savings when individuals borrow loans regarding interest charges and interest paid. One of the key things that personally I believe would be to encourage individuals to live below their means. For instance, when I was shopping for my first house, my wife wanted one house that had a significantly higher payment than what I felt comfortable with, and I was able to convince her to go to the less expensive home, which may not have been as fancy as the one she wanted, but it certainly helped us to live within our means. And also, I'd like to point out too, it's a good idea to diversify. If individuals do have money to save and invest in retirement funds, the old saying of don't put all your eggs in one basket, I believe certainly holds true. So it is good to check around and look at different types of options that might be available. Okay, well, thank you very much for your attention.
John, thank you so much. And for those of you that have never had a chance to check out the Money Smart curriculum, just want to remind you that it's free and it's available to you online. And as you increase your own financial literacy and you make that choice to maybe share it with a group that you're connected to or pass it on, Money Smart offers you many opportunities to do that as well. So thank you again, John, and I'd now like to welcome to the webinar Jeanette Schultz with NEFI, who's going to share with you information from the National Endowment Financial Education on financial wellness and living with MS. Thanks, Jeanette, for joining us.
Thank you, Katie, Elizabeth, and Nakia for your help on this, for inviting me on this webinar. I appreciate it. Welcome to Charting a Course of Financial Wellness. I'm Jeanette Schultz, and I'll share information about tools offered by the National Endowment for Financial Education. The National Endowment for Financial Education provides financial education and practical information to people at all financial stages. You can find this information about NEFI, as we call ourselves, on www.nefi.org. Whether you are a community volunteer, teacher, or social service expert, we have resources to help you facilitate financial education workshop or classes in your classroom and your community and evaluate your success. NEFI strives to reach those who will benefit from increasing their financial know-how, yet may not know about or currently receive services from a local school, community organization, financial institution, or financial professional. Examples of how we serve the public includes personal finance curriculum for educators, instructional materials for workshop facilitators, and website resources for consumer. This slide shows a whole list of resources that I will address later at this webinar. We maintain ongoing partnerships with several leading national nonprofit organizations in order to reach underserved audiences more directly, and we know firsthand how teamwork can bring about extraordinary outcomes. These partnerships include other nonprofits that serve consumers directly or indirectly, including American Red Cross, Habitat for Humanity, and the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. Whether you are a partner, consumer, educator, or researcher, NEFI has resources for you. The workshop kit, Living with MS, helps people in this world alleviate financial concerns by learning the basics of financial planning. In the United States, more than 400,000 people live with multiple sclerosis, an unpredictable condition that can lead to significant life changes and financial hardship. The workshop at the bottom of this slide showcases Children with Disability Financial Workshop Kits. It helps the parents face many unique financial challenges. Did you know there are more than 7 million children with special needs in the United States, and their parents face a unique combination of financial challenges? Taking control of finances can be a top priority for people living with MS. Yet, like many people, MS patients may lack the basic financial skills to manage their money. In addition, it's important for those living with MS to understand, number one, their options in the workplace, number two, helpful government programs, and number three, employer benefits and insurance coverage. This workshop kit is meant to encourage participants to more effectively manage their finances in light of their diagnosis and to understand what assistance they may access through employer or government benefit programs. This short 60-minute workshop only touches on these key issues. However, worksheets and informational handouts can be found on www.financialworkshopkits.org. Ask participants if any of them have been keeping track of his or her symptoms and treatments and any successful coping skills. Refer to the My MS Tracker handout and encourage participants to use it in the future. Suggest to participants that it's helpful to start tracking this information so they can use it as a basis for a conversation with doctors, employers, or insurance companies. It also can help identify potential new expenses. For example, you may discover that massage helps alleviate stiff muscles and avoid spasms. In that case, it may be helpful to budget for the cost of regular massages. In this slide, we will discuss a financial inventory. Suggest to participants that their personal financial situation is as unique as their specific MS symptoms. Just as each person living with MS must develop a personalized regimen to manage symptoms, each person must develop a personalized plan to manage finances. Spending plans. Ask participants if they already use a spending plan or budget every month. Note that a financial inventory is a snapshot of where you stand today financially. However, to maintain financial stability, it's wise to have an accurate monthly spending plan. Begin with a monthly income worksheet. Suggest that it's important to have an accurate picture of sources of income and the exact amounts they can expect each month. Remind participants that many people have unrealistic ideas of their actual income. Explain that many people also have no idea where their money goes. Listing your expenses on a monthly expense worksheet is the only way of tracking where your money is going. Consider giving an example of the expense that you have often overlooked, including in your monthly plan. Ask for similar experiences. Examples could include a daily coffee from Starbucks. Discuss the comparison of incomes to expenses with the comparison of income to expenses worksheet. Emphasize the need to revise your spending plan. If you have money left over at the end of the month, then increase the amount dedicated to savings, including emergency fund savings. If expenses are greater than income, then it is best to address that problem immediately. Consider sharing an experience where you didn't make a wise choice about that extra money at the end of the month, what you learned from the experience, and how you got back on track. If any participant has had any similar experience, this is the best time to share those stories. Stress the importance of considering ways to cut or decrease expenses using the expense reduction worksheet. Remind participants that managing money is all about making wise choices so they can be better prepared for the unexpected. Discuss a debt reduction plan, including paying minimum amounts due on all debts and paying any extra toward the debt with the highest interest rate. Emphasize the importance of reducing debt. In this slide, we are discussing workplace options. Ask participants how many are currently employed. Suggest that if someone is currently employed, it's best to try to keep the job as long as the person is physically able to do so without endangering themselves or anyone else. Jobs not only provide a paycheck and often benefits, they offer personal interaction. They also can be a source of self-esteem and accomplishment. Discuss whether an employee should disclose the MS diagnosis. Remind participants that this is a very personal decision that needs careful consideration. Note that there are pros and cons to the disclosure decision. Remind participants that the National MS Society website covers this topic in greater detail to help individuals make an appropriate decision. NEFI is not experts of ADA. However, here are some highlights. I strongly recommend visiting the government website, www.ada.gov, for more details. Stress that if employees discloses his or her MS diagnosis with the employer should keep careful records of all meetings, but not on a company-provided computer. Also note that the employee should have copies of performance evaluation. This information could come in handy if the employee ever feels treated unfairly at work. Employer benefits and government programs. In this slide, ask participants whether they have been confused by the information listed in an employer's benefits package. Acknowledge that some employer benefit booklets are written in a confusing way, often using unfamiliar terms. Note that there are resources available to help define terms, such as NEFI's Smart About Money website, www.smartaboutmoney.org. Other workshops, there is another workshop that accompanies this on financialworkshopkits.org. Encourage those participants who are working for or who have spouses who are working to review their latest employer benefit booklet. It's important to understand leave policies including sick time, vacation, short-term disability, and the family and medical leave act. Encourage participants to understand certain terms such as formulary and pre-existing condition exclusion period. The glossary can help participants with these terms, and it's a good idea of the major provisions of the Affordable Health Care Act. Address the Affordable Health Care Act and the options it affords in terms of plans, spending limits, and drug discounts. Suggest that there are some people may need to consider assistance from certain government programs, including Social Security disability income and supplemental security income. Other programs include Ticket to Work program and Medicaid. Remind participants that although these programs can be helpful, they are often difficult to qualify for, and benefit amounts are subject to government budget decisions. At the end of the workshop, review the main topics covered. Encourage participants to be proactive in their response to MS, understand their symptoms and treatment, get their financial house in order, and use what benefits and programs are available to them. Stress the importance of accepting help from others and learning from one another. The major MS-focused nonprofit organizations provide many avenues of support and access to information. Interested in this particular workshop, here's the web page to sign up for our quarterly newsletter. The newsletter will highlight upcoming workshop kits, success stories, and conferences that will showcase this tool. You can also call me for more information at 303-224-3502. Here is a list of additional tools created by NIFI. I'll explain each one in the upcoming slides. Smart About Money, or SAM, is one of the many resources of the National Endowment for Financial Education. It is a consumer site that helps people make sound financial decisions through life's ups and downs. The site provides practical articles, worksheets, tips, and other valuable resources to help people understand and manage money. The website is www.smartaboutmoney.org. Like all the websites mentioned in this webinar, you can find a list of tools on www.nifi.org. Spencer allows users to upload and view videos and join online conversation with other site users about how much money they have wasted and how it could have been put to better use. Spencer includes polls, tips, and resources for consumer. Every other year, Spencer does sponsor a contest for those who want to upload the funniest, the most informative, and with lots of humor, the most impractical spending waste idea. My Retirement Paycheck is a one-stop spot for information about retirement decisions. The site outlines a full range of interrelated decision areas and shows people how to stretch their retirement income regardless of how much they have saved. Stay tuned by signing up for the quarterly newsletter on financialworkshopkits.org for its debut later this year. As mentioned earlier, you can find all these websites on nifi.org. Here's a list of resources we talked about during this webinar. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me at jeh@nifi.org or call me at 303-224-3502. Thank you for joining today's webinar. I welcome feedback and insight. And don't forget to sign up for the quarterly newsletter. Again, thank you to Katie and the National Disability Institute and the team.
Thank you so much, Jeanette. I have to say some of these tools were new for me, and I'm going to be checking them out probably as soon as we get off of the line today. I don't know about others on the line, but I thought the one about My Retirement Paycheck looked really, really interesting, and I'm excited to take a look at that. So I wanted to provide some time for questions and answers, so it's a great opportunity right now, if you haven't done so yet, to submit your questions into the chat box. We have plenty of time to address the questions that you have, so please don't be shy. We'll be happy to answer them. Remember, you want to plug them into either the chat box or the Q&A box. And while you do that, I want to just talk to you about a couple of suggested next steps. So we know that there are a lot of resources out there for you, from what's provided through FDIC to what's provided through NIFI. You have a lot of free resources at your fingertips to help you determine what's going to work for me, what's going to help me to put together a budget or a spending plan that's going to help me to manage my finances and to be taking better control of that piece of my financial life so that I can improve my financial wellness. We want to really encourage you to take that step. So over the next few months, we challenge you to set a goal for yourself to complete at least one financial literacy course. Or if you think, well, I'm not really sure that that's really striking anything inside of me, I'm not really sure I want to do that, how about trying one of the tools that NEFI provided for you today? Check them out. We'll contact you over the next few months to see if you can share your experience with us. It helps us to know kind of what's working for you out there in the world of individuals living with MS, and it helps us to consider other things that people may need training or more information on. We also want to encourage you to think about not only your financial literacy, but what are you doing for financial services? Are you getting the best rate when it comes to who you bank with? And are you taking the time to go in and ask for what you need or you want? There are some tips for getting this done at beehive.org. We left the URL for you there, and remember, we're going to upload this webinar to the Financial Wellness website so you can access these links even after today's event. But why don't you take a look at your financial services, and maybe part of the way that you can decrease some of your costs would be to consider some more affordable financial services, something that may provide you an opportunity to pay little or no fees. If you've never checked out a credit union, you may find a credit union is for you a better option than a mainstream bank. If you're not banked at all, you may be wondering some steps that you could go and open a bank account, and if you need any support with that, please reach out to us. You may also want to start to look, as John had mentioned, at your credit and what does your credit look like, because one of the things you can do as you build your credit is to consider asking for a lower credit card rate, and we also provided you a link to do that. So again, we challenge you over the next few months, if one of these options would help to decrease some of your costs, we'd like you to share with us the experience that you have in using some of these suggested resources and just in making those asks. We'd be happy to hear about your good experiences and your bad experiences, because both of them provide for us some insight into putting those different policies into practice. And we also want to suggest that you join us for the rest of the series of webinars. Jeanette mentioned some of the other opportunities that folks have, especially around accessing work through things like Ticket to Work, accessing some different benefits. We're going to give you a whole webinar on that on September 18th. We're also going to talk about how to make the choice to leave work on October 16th. Some of the new healthcare changes that will impact you, and just in time for tax time, we're going to talk in December about favorable tax deductions. And I don't want to leave off August, but we're going to talk about your home, how you might consider refinancing. As you increase in your disability, you may need to make some modifications to your home, and we want to give you some tools for you to understand how you can finance those costs. So a lot of great information coming up for you over the series of webinars, but let's go back a few slides so we can start to tackle some of these questions. So the first question we had came in pretty early. The question was, we'll direct this to John, and then we'll ask Jeanette if she can also share her thoughts. But the question was, you mentioned annualcreditreport.com. Do you have any insight on creditkarma.com? It was the only site that I found that does not charge you to keep track monthly. So John, is that a site that you've heard of, and do you have thoughts on creditkarma.com? And Nakia, if we could unmute both John and Jeanette, that would be great. Thanks.
I have not heard of that website, but if they ask for a credit card number, if any website asks for a credit card number, I would try to avoid that situation.
Okay, how about you, Jeanette?
Same, I haven't heard about it. I am wary about .coms. I'd rather encourage people to check out the .orgs and .edus, because you know that those websites aren't being provided by a credit type place where they have to buy a product.
Thank you. And we do have one person on our team here at NDI who actually uses creditkarma.com. So I asked her if she could give you her insight. And just as a commentary, it's not that we're promoting this site, but since it was asked and Nakia uses it, I thought it'd be great to have her give you her experience using it.
So yes, I do use creditkarma.com, and like the person who asked the question said, it is free. It is absolutely free. They do not ask for any of your credit card information at all. There are 3 major credit reporting agencies, and Credit Karma uses just one. They use the TransUnion score. So it's a good tool to keep track of where your credit score is generally. They do a really great thing called a credit report card that uses sort of what TransUnion's assessment of your credit is, and it's different things that make up what your credit score would be: credit card utilization, how old your accounts are, any derogatory marks on your credit, things like that, and it helps you to really just see where you are. It's not a FICO score, which is sort of the most common used score, and again, depending on where your credit is being pulled, if you're applying for a mortgage, if you're applying for a car loan, all different kinds of things, different companies will use different agencies. So it's not an exact credit score, but it is a really good way to keep track for free of where you are in sort of your credit health. I use it every month, and it really helps me to sort of know, oh, my credit card utilization right now is, 25%, it's 44%, and it helps me, and it also tells you, you've decreased your credit card utilization by this month, you've decreased your overall debt. So it really helps you keep track of where you are, and I recommend it highly, as well as annual credit report.
Thank you so much, Nakia. Okay, our next question is directed to John Olson. The question is, I noticed on your intro slide that there is a version of Money Smart for small businesses. Is there any way to access that online for free?
Yes, definitely. I would suggest going to www.fdic.gov. Once you get to the website, there's a search engine or search box up on the right-hand side, right-hand corner. Type in Money Smart there, and you'll get, generally it's the first selection you can choose, and once you get to the Money Smart site, over on the left-hand side, there are a number of links that are available, and you can order the Money Smart for small business at no cost.
Great, thank you, John. So we'll offer the next one to Jeanette to start, and then we'll have John add his thoughts. I heard the mention of a budget and then the mention of a spending plan. Can you please help me understand what is the difference?
So a budget is the technical term, and because people cringe when they hear the word budget, it's much nicer to say it's spending plan. So they're interchangeable between the two. John?
Yes, I totally agree. The budget term turns off a lot of people sometimes, so personal spending plan is another term for a budget, but basically no difference.
Great, thank you. We have another question, which is, sorry folks, I just lost it. I'm currently collecting $1,200 per month in long-term disability for my MS. I've been considering working a few hours per week. Is it true that I can earn $9.99 per month without endangering my benefits? And I realize that this question is really outside of the scope of what we invited John Olson and Jeanette to present on today. So if you both agree, I'm comfortable answering this question, but just want to ask if either of you want to add anything to it first.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Sure.
So I think this is a really great question, and the opportunity to work when you're receiving disability benefits is something that we're going to address on our webinar in a couple of months. There is a real challenge when you look at working and disability benefits because sometimes people get a disability payment through a long-term disability policy, and sometimes people get a disability payment through a Social Security disability benefit. The rules for Social Security disability benefits are federal rules, and they're rules that we can explain to you and connect you to people that can really help you understand what that impact is going to be on your benefits, what some of the work incentives are, which act like tax deductions. There's really quite a lot of room to work within Social Security's disability rules. However, if you're talking about the receipt of a long-term disability benefit through a long-term disability policy, unfortunately, those rules are not universal. So they really have to be, they're really based on the policy that you own and the specific rules connected to that policy. So if the individual who asked hasn't had a chance to connect with their long-term disability provider, or if there's anybody on the line who has this question, we had a great archive from our webinar series last year, and I'm going to take a minute to look up that archive and post a link for you in the chat box. It was provided to us on, it was called Prolonging Work Supports. It's a topic we're going to address this year as well. Unfortunately, Ken Mitchell, who provided the content last year, has since passed. So if you are interested in long-term disability, your long-term disability policy, what the rules are, how you can negotiate with that provider, I really encourage you to check out that archive because Ken Mitchell was a real expert on this subject, and his content is just, we're so grateful that it's archived because it was really wonderful. So we'll put that link for you in the box, and feel free to tune in to our webinar on that subject, but I really encourage you to view that archive and hear Ken Mitchell's thoughts on this. Okay, so we have another question, which is there a way to get a copy of the PowerPoint presentation and the closed caption? And Nakia, if we could put that in the chat box, that would be great. We have another question that asks, if I like the Money Smart curriculum, can you please help me understand again how I can share it with individuals in my own support group?
Anyone is able to go online to order the curriculum for free, whichever type of product they would choose to order. So I would say that is the best method to try to go online and do it.
Great. And we have just, thank you, Jen. We have just one more question, and it's for Jeanette with NEFI. And this person asks, can you help me understand a little bit how I can use your toolkit to help me with my finances?
So the Toolkit Financial Workshop Kits is intended for facilitators and those giving workshops. They can pull the PowerPoint, talking scripts, worksheets, and then there is another section for resources. And all these components pulled together can help either one-to-one, in a circle of friends, even in a group, or a classroom facilitation on going piece by piece, slide by slide, on the things to do on getting your financial wellness completed. I can certainly walk you through the website. It's hard to talk about it when the website's not in front of you because, like I said, there's different components all put together as one for people to use.
Thank you, Jeanette. You know, one of the challenges just for all of us on the line is that there's really so many tools out there that it can be really challenging to know which ones to tap into. We wanted to present to you FDIC and NEFI because we have a great amount of trust in these partners and feel that they provide really wonderful tools and resources that you can use for yourself or for individuals that you are either supporting as a peer, or we know some of you on the line are folks that are providing services to others. We also gave you a link to some of our resources here at National Disability Institute. We provide a lot of information. We really have 5 key areas that we focus this information on. It's asset development, employment, free tax preparation, financial education, and public benefits planning. And then for anybody who's interested, we also have information on public policy on our site. Here's a few additional financial literacy resources. As I mentioned, there's so many out there, but we wanted to give you a smattering of them because the great thing about having choice is that you can find the resource that you think would really be right for you with your situation, that has the look that's appealing to you, and that is going to be something that will personally motivate you to complete a curriculum or to utilize a specific tool. There's also games out there that can be really helpful. There's Visa Financial Soccer, there's Doorway to Dreams, which has many different financial entertainment tools. There's Practical Money Skills for Life, and there's one called Jenna Revolution, try to say that 3 times fast, which provides you with a personal finance game. If you haven't had a chance to look at any of these games, they can be really fun. It's a great way for you to be entertained while you're building your financial literacy. And for those of you that are on the line that have you know, children in your home with you, it may be a great way for you to talk together or as a family about financial education through play. We also wanted to provide you with a few additional financial empowerment tools, some that are favorites of the staff here at National Disability Institute, mint.com, lovemycreditunion.org, mymoneycheckup.org, and learnvest.com. All of these tools, as I mentioned, you know, we're not saying you have to use any of them, but we think that it gives you a broad array so that you can decide for yourself what's the best tool for you. And if you need any assistance as you look at these tools or as you try to think about what would be a next great step for me personally, or you want to understand better some of the more personal issues like understanding your long-term disability insurance or how you can connect to different public benefit programs, I want to please encourage you to reach out to us. We're so grateful to our sponsor, Accorda Therapeutics, who has provided us the opportunity for the 3rd year in a row to provide you with this information, and their support also helps us to ensure that we can provide you one-on-one information as you need it. So reach out to us. My colleague Katie Metz is on the line, and she's going to make herself available to you. We're a team with some deep content knowledge and a lot of wonderful partners out in the community. So if we can't answer your question, we know who to turn to for support, and it's folks like those that we have on the line today. So thank you again to John Olson and to Jeanette Schultz. We're so appreciative of you sharing your content knowledge with us. And to everyone who joined us today, thank you so much for joining us. We hope we'll hear from you again on our next webinar. And when you close this window, you're going to be given a very short survey on what you thought about today's webinar with a really important question. We are going to do a pilot with Accorda Therapeutics this year, and particularly with our partners who provide financial coaching. So if you're on the line and you think you'd like to be one of 5 families chosen to do a financial coaching pilot, please make sure you answer that question in the webinar survey. We'll reach out to you and give you more information and see if maybe a mixture of these great webinars and some one-on-one financial coaching can help you to improve your financial wellness to the place that you would like it to be. Thank you again to our partners on the line and to all of you for joining us today. This concludes today's webinar. We hope you'll join us again next month.